Good morning, Couples Expert community. Welcome to the show. This is Stuart Fensterheim, the Couples Expert, here with another episode of the Couples Expert Podcast. I am here every week with advice and information on love and relationships. I'm not sure if that means you have to call me the love doctor, or if that just means that we're here in this together. And I think that's really what it means. We're all in this world to really create a love relationship that we're very proud of. And I am so thrilled that you're here with me today to listen to this episode number 101 of our show. You know, I realize something, that there are so many podcasts out there. And I just want to thank all of you from the bottom of my heart for taking the time out of your busy schedule to spend it with me here on the podcast. Whether you're listening at home or in your office or driving on the freeway, welcome to my show, and I'm really proud of all of you for taking this time to really making sure that you have a relationship that you and your partner know is very special. I also want to encourage you to leave a comment in iTunes, not if you're driving though, but leaving a comment in iTunes about this podcast, whether you've liked it or found it not to be so hot. Every episode, I look for comments from my audience to really give me feedback on whether or not you find this podcast valuable and what you like about it, and also suggestions for topics that you would like to hear me talk about. And please leave an honest review on this show. I read every single one of the comments and really appreciate the input, because I truly want this show to be your go-to podcast on relationships. My hope is to connect people, to take those of you out there who are feeling sad and maybe feeling alone in your relationship, and bring to you a relationship in which you know that you're important to your partner, and that the feelings that you have to one another are the same ones that you felt when you first fell in love. To repair your broken heart and broken relationships, and to help people find the joy that you have in your lives because your partner is there. And that there's nothing more valuable out there and nothing more special than the two of you sharing your life together. You know, relationships are not a mystery. It is indeed possible to really develop a relationship where we know that our partner has our back. And we now know how to help couples make that happen. So if you're struggling or you're worried, this podcast is the place to be, to get the help. I know it's scary, but if you join us every Thursday, we release a new podcast. I guarantee you something. Your life will be better for it. You know, we've talked before about alcohol addiction, and this week's podcast is about addiction and the effects of this disease on your relationship. But this one is going to be a little different. I'm going to discuss addiction to prescription pills. Prescription drugs are abused more than most of the drugs out there. It's more than hallucinogens, more than cocaine, inhalants, and heroin combined. More than 15 million people in the United States alone abuse prescription drugs. It really is a scary statistic. I hope you learned something from our show that can help you or someone you love that's dealing with this terrible disease of addiction. A quote that I try to live my life by is the following: the definition of success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out. And Robert Collier is the one that I learned about this quote from. And what I want you all to think about is think about the things that are the challenges in your life, whether it's your relationship or whether it's something as difficult as a drug addiction. If we just put one foot in front of the other every single day, just step 1 foot, move 1 inch closer to that relationship that you want, closer to your recovery, you'll be able to do it. All you have to do is one day at a time. Sometimes, though, one day at a time is too much. Sometimes it has to be 1 hour at a time, 1 minute at a time, or even 1 second at a time. If you can just get through that moment to the next one, then you'll have hours and days and weeks and months, and most importantly, years. I want you to remember something. It is never too late to start over. You're never too far gone, never too far away, or too far in an addiction or in relationship difficulties that you can't turn it around by just saying to yourself, today is going to be the day to the start of my new life. I am starting right now today to make the change, to let my partner know how important they are to them, and to not take the drug. My brand new ending is now, and I can have the life that I want. If you have an addiction, this is even more important. You have to guard your recovery every single day and every moment to avoid that relapse. That one day at a time philosophy is really something that is so critical. And you have to be forgiving not only of the people in your life, but more importantly, of yourself. Because if you cannot do it today, then tomorrow's a brand new day. But this podcast today isn't just for the person that's having the addictive problem. We're also talking to those who love those individuals. Because if you have a loved one who is addicted to prescription drugs, you might think that it's different than for addicts who are addicted to street drugs. What we know is that the pattern of the addiction is the same. If you're addicted, you're addicted, whether it's to shooting up heroin, or whether it's taking crystal meth, or whether it's taking prescription drugs. What I want really to stress to you is that the mechanic of the addiction is really the same in the way that it affects the brain, because no matter what you're addicted to, the brain chemistry is involved. The behavior of the addict when he or she needs that drug, that fix, might be different based on what the drug is, but the disease is the same. There are some differences, and we're going to be talking about those differences as we go. And this is sort of a sad state of affairs for me to be able to say this, but almost all of us know someone who has struggled with this. There are millions of people in the United States alone that has this problem. And when we start talking about prescription drug addiction, it's insidious, because it usually starts out with something realistic, a realistic pain, a realistic injury, something that really hurts, that hurts physically, that also can hurt mentally. The fact is that no one sets out to be addicted. Unlike many of the street drug addicts, prescription drug addicts are probably not trying to get high initially when they start out. The problem is that when you take a narcotic over a long period of time, your body builds up a resistance, which then requires a larger dose or more frequent dosing to get the same effect that they did to dull the pain when they started out. So that one day you wake up and you go, God, I'm really hurting. And you begin to feel like you need the drug to get through your day. And that there's a great deal of worry or anxiety and fear about, what if I don't get it? How am I going to take my kids to the playground, or be there at the PTA meeting, or show up at work and not just be so absorbed with my pain that I may lose my job? These fears are real fears. They're not pretending. It really matters. And what you have to begin to say to yourself is that when you're taking that drug to cope with your day and your pain in an intense way like that, you need to ask yourself, am I taking the drug the correct way? Or am I abusing the drug because the high that comes along with this feels so darn good? Let's take a toothache, for instance. When you have your wisdom teeth taken out, there's a tremendous amount of pain. I've had one recently, and the pain is tremendous, or back pain. That's probably another one that for me, I've had a couple of back injuries over my lifetime, and there's nothing that has hurt more. And recently I had a burn. I got burned from a candle. And the pain of that burn was tremendous. And my wife will tell you jokingly, as a man, I sounded like I was wimpy because the pain really hurt. At one point, I was sort of joking, well, if they cut my thumb off, then maybe I won't have to worry about how much this hurts. And she was saying to me, don't take the pain medicine they gave you. And I said, no way. I can't be coming to work and helping the couples that I help with this throbbing pain that was all encompassing. And truthfully, was I abusing it? No, because I wasn't doing it all the time. The pain was something that when I took the dose that the doctor gave me, it felt better. But what if I started to take more and more and more to get the same results? Then we're looking at a possible addiction. The day that follows, when your quest and your primary thoughts are about getting more of those drugs and seeing doctors who will prescribe the drug and doing whatever it takes, that's a trademark of an addict. To make sure you always have your medication right by you, just in case you need the dose. That's also behavior of an addict. You know, the medical community has really tightened up about this, and most of us realize that the pharmacies all have now data banks, because what we know is that people fake prescriptions and they bounce from pharmacy to pharmacy looking for getting their medicine. And sadly, this has required a lot of change within the community, within the grocery stores that have pharmacies in them, of how they handle it to make sure that prescriptions are legitimate. If you're a partner of someone that has this prescription addiction, your life can be incredibly chaotic and incredibly unhappy. If you know your partner's addicted and they're in denial about it, and denial, as we know, is an essential part of an addiction, it is really so very difficult to help them. You may be at a loss of knowing exactly what to do, and that's part of what I am deciding to make this podcast, is to give you some more information that will help. If your partner is showing an increase in this addictive behaviors, you want to help them. Your first impulse might be to enable them a bit. And why you're doing that is because you love them. And the last thing you want to see is a loved one in pain. This is why the problem is so prevalent, is because it's difficult to see a problem when our partners are in pain. Because what you end up doing as a partner and also as the addict, is you say, wait a minute, a doctor prescribed these medicines. They're legal. They're legitimate. They're meant to ease pain, and it's not working. My partner is hurting, and all I want to do is help them. So if we need to take a little bit more than the doctor said, it's really okay. What I encourage all of you to do, if you see an increase in the tolerance of your loved one, you need to have a conversation with your physician. And you need to not be afraid to have a conversation with your loved one about your concerns. It's an incredibly slippery slope, but it's a trap that can leave you as a loved one, as someone who loves a partner that's hurting, feeling so helpless and worried. I want to recommend that you talk about this. You talk about it with the doctor. You talk about it with your loved one before the addiction has gotten too strong. I'm here to tell you that if you catch it early, there's things you can do, and even if you don't catch it early, because treatment for a prescription addiction is definitely possible. And there's a high likelihood that we can help. But we need everyone involved. We need the partner. We need the person who has the addiction. And sometimes we also need other family members. What I'm going to be putting in my show notes is some resources for spouses and families, because the support that you need is really important. You want to support your partner through this difficult issue that they're facing while helping them wean off the prescriptions, because that dependency doesn't do away with the pain of the reason for the prescription. So back pain is incredibly painful and can sometimes debilitate someone. And sometimes the solution with a prescription addiction is going prescription free. But the pain is still there, and you need to look for other sources. So this is not an easy challenge. What you want to do is attend the medical appointments with your loved one. Go to the doctor with them. Discuss this issue with the doctor in front of your partner. Yes, they may get angry at you. Yes, they may start sneaking it. All of those behaviors are part of the pattern, and you can't be afraid of it. You can't be afraid to really face this challenge head on together and let your partner know that you're in this with them. You probably, and more likely than not, will need a professional to help once the addiction has kicked in. Have a counselor or medical professional involved. It's the only way you're going to manage both the pain and the behaviors and the addiction and the psychological trauma that comes with this. You want to show your partner that you love and support them, but that you're not willing to participate in their addiction. You're willing to help, but not enable. It's like walking a tightrope. But remember something. This person that may be in denial, that may be deceptive, that may be falling apart in front of your eyes, is the exact same person that you fell in love with. They're in there. They may not look like it. They may look just angry and mean at times. But their physical addiction and their psychological addiction are the enemy, not the person. That person is still there. They need you to be strong because they can't do it themselves right now. Once your partner is able to get off the drugs, you can continue to support them by going to meetings with them. Couples counseling is a requirement because there's nothing that impacts a couple's relationship more than an addiction. And helping the two of you change the nature of the relationship to really understand the vulnerabilities and the need for a secure relationship is not going to happen on your own. You need to stay connected and stay involved. As I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of resources out there about recovery. We know NA and AA, but there's also resources for addicts and of the spouses, such as Al-Anon and Alateen. Now, I'm not completely sure about a separate meeting for people who have prescription addictions. I've been sort of searching for one. So if you know one, please let me know so I can post it and get it out there. The other thing I wanted to talk about is a resource and some websites. One is called Smart Recovery, www.smartrecovery.org. And another one is www.drug-addiction-help-now.org/blog/resources-links. If you are driving, everything's in the show notes and you can come to it. The other thing, if you want, is sign up on my email list. So you can go to the website, which is www.thecouplesexperts, that's plural.com. And you can get on the email list. And that way you're going to get special information on things like this, video clips, my 3 Minutes with Stuart videos. And you should be seeing on my Facebook page a couple of videos that I did on prescription addiction this week. So you can check that out there. And I actually have about 300 videos there that you could see all different topics. Just go to my YouTube channel, the Couples Expert YouTube channel. What I want to end with here is some of the things of what to do, particularly if you have chronic pain. I think chronic pain is one of the most difficult areas. And prescription addiction, the likelihood of that goes way up. So what I want to talk about is how to avoid becoming addicted when you do have chronic pain. And I think it's the time that we're the most vulnerable. You know, being in pain wears you down. It makes you tired, depressed, and can even have you feeling anxious and desperate to just make the pain go away. That's why so many prescription drug addicts are chronic pain sufferers. We know there are many ways to manage chronic pain without the need of a strong narcotic. But so many physicians out there, that's their go-to. And if you're suffering with chronic pain, before you sort of get caught up into a narcotic route, I would suggest you also looking into some other things of ways to deal with this. And I would start out with a holistic approach. And, you know, there are surgical interventions and implants and a lot of new technology. And I'm not suggesting going to a surgical outcome right away, but sometimes those options are as beneficial, if not more so, and it avoids the problem of an addiction. And if you already know that you have an addictive personality, I would recommend talking to your medical professional about this. You know, there's a couple other kinds of techniques that have helped chronic pain individuals as well, which are things like yoga, meditation, and other whole body treatments such as reflexology and acupuncture. Acupuncture is a really fascinating one. In the alternative medicines, I really think that that's one that most people tell me that they get incredible results with, and I urge you to sort of check those out along with some of the herbal remedies that are out there. If you start out, though, with prescription narcotics and pills and patches and injections, please be incredibly careful. Be mindful of our own weaknesses toward addiction. We all have those. And never believe it can't happen to you. You want to use your medicine as a doctor advises and use as little of them as you can to get the result. If you can get away with half a pill, I highly recommend it. If you need 2 pills for a while, go down to 1 after a few days to see if it's effective. Wean yourself off as quick as possible. You know, I have family members who are physicians, and physicians are not superhuman. Physicians do make mistakes. Physicians don't have all the answers. And one of the things about physicians these days is they're also overworked and they have too many clients and they don't follow up the way that they need to. So you need to control your own care. I know this from the bottom of my heart. Let me tell you this, that you have to be the one in charge of your own health. And as a loved one, you want to show your partner that you love and support them and helping them also manage their own health. And that means making sure you have appointments, not accepting long time in between appointments, that if you're on a narcotic, you should be being seen a week or two at the most. And if they say they can't do it, you speak with the doctor. You speak to the manager. You tell them that you're not interested in waiting more than a couple of weeks. You're coping with a serious medical potential problem. Don't take it lightly. Don't be careless, and don't over-medicate. I really want to thank all of you for joining me today. This episode may feel really heavy, and I want you to know that the really exciting thing for me as a couples counselor, what I know with an issue such as this, is that the love that the two of you have for one another, the love between a couple, can move mountains, and that it can beat any addiction out there if the two of you pull close and not pull away from one another. Take care now. I'll see you next time. We're going to be talking about something much more fun, which is St. Patrick's Day. I hope you'll come and listen to the show. And we're going to talk about how a holiday like St. Patrick's Day can be an incredible opportunity to connect with your partner and make it fun and romantic. Take care now, and please stay connected. Bye-bye.